One. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Founders Grid, sponsored by Gaper.io. Today we have Guillaume. Guillaume is the VP of Delivery at Kunai. Guillaume, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mustafa. Happy to be here.
So, give us a brief background about yourself, what you've been doing prior to joining Kunai.
Yeah, sure. So I started as a software engineer with a Bachelor of Science in France, and joining very quickly fintech, working in treasury management for Fortune 500 companies, and there becoming software architect, and then moving to the US to be part of the delivery team, professional services, delivering software implementations to, again, very large companies in the US, and done that for like 8 years. And then I wanted to move to a SaaS business. So I was very lucky to find Kyriba, a very high growing cloud treasury tool, becoming a unicorn, and where I was managing two teams. So as a director of product, two teams of product management in fintech, so in bank connectivity, payments, bank formats, etc. And we're alone.
Hello.
And I was working with lots of. We're having an issue?
No, just keep on speaking. What I'll do is, I'll put my video on pause if I get any kind of instability. But yes, sorry about that. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and recently I've joined Kunai as SVP Delivery, where I will be helping delivering more products to our customers. So Kunai is a software consultancy firm specialized in fintech. And we take napkin sketches and build products delivered at scale. We provide an agile methodology to our customers, where we provide design through design sprints and then development sprints, and where the customer is completely embedded in our Scrum meetings, so they feel completely embedded in a delivery, and they have the choice to start with a few sprints and then pivot, learn from the experience, or grab the MVP and continue by themselves, or get some more sprints from Kunai and refine the product. So it's very agile methodology, and we are specialized in fintech. So we work with all of major banks, Fortune 500 companies, Big Four consultancy firms, as well as, interestingly, funded startups. So we have a very good relationship with Plaid, for instance. We help them build their product.
Got it. So which kind of okay, let me fast track into trying to make the conversation much more relevant to today's time pandemic, right? And especially the fintech, right? So prior to COVID, it has been, or the general perception or the myth is that, the finance sector, the banking sector, or the insurance sector, they're kind of like the least receptive towards change, right? So, even getting multiple banks in Wall Street to get rid of a tie has been a challenge for years. That's
right.
the discussion. Then sourcing out the technology to third parties, and that's like a different ball game. So what are your thoughts on that? Is the finance world changing, and has COVID acted as a catalyst for that or not?
I think they've changed a lot. So as you know, probably in Europe, there's been a regulatory push for open banking. So obliging the banks to open up and have to provide APIs so that third parties, so the fintechs, can be intermediaries to the bank services. And that's also been the case in Asia. And whereas in the US, there's no regulatory push, but the banks still have embraced the idea of open banking, especially the very large banks, the JPM, the Citibank, the Bank of America. So those banks have really started to try to act as startups. So hiring lots of developer teams, a lot of developers and creating products, so creating those open banking APIs, and trying to really act like a fintech and get back in the game of providing innovative services to their customers, or at least to be the best partners for the fintech, so that the fintech can provide the services. Because a bank who is not open, they will. I'm sorry. The bank which is not open will try to keep their ecosystem closed, but eventually, if you, Mustafa, you download Mint, or you download an app we are creating, Bank Shift, and your bank is not there, you might switch to another bank, right? So the bank have to open up, and they have to do a lot of effort in technology and software development. And for that, I've met several banks like JP Morgan, Deutsche Bank, Citi, who created labs, especially in New York, and which function like startups. So they have a product management, they have designers, they have developers, they run in sprints, and they talk to fintech. Like I was a big partner of them, discussing their roadmap. So they have a roadmap, they publish the roadmap, and they act as fintechs. And these guys don't wear ties at all.
Yeah, true. So, okay, now coming down to SIDS at Gaper, we're very big advocates of remote work and remote engineering, and uh, developers, engineers have been working remotely for the last 10 years or 15 years, or even 25 years now, right? But the other sectors have been forced to get into remote work. So, but as a software engineer, you would be having uh, multiple experience of managing software teams going through different time zones, So the existing teams coming up, existing founders coming up, they talk about, no, they need to be in the same time zone, this and this. And, even the VCs out of the Bay Area, they used to tweet, oh, if the startup founder is 1 hour away from our office, we won't invest in them. So what 3 to 4 pieces of advice would you want to give to the CEOs that, since you've had such an experience of managing remote teams, what advice would you give to them of how to manage remote teams in a better and efficient way?
Right, great question. So, and I've been managing teams remotely, like when I was career for 5 years. I was based in New York, and most of my team, the product managers, were in Paris. Our engineering team in Eastern Europe, and another part in San Diego. So I was right in the middle. And we have a lot of excellent tools to manage teams remotely. So Slack is an excellent tool to keep current, being at the office and just messaging your team. I would start by having at least a weekly call with the whole team, so that everybody is on the same page weekly. I'm not talking about Scrum meetings. Like Scrum meetings, whether you are in the office or remotely, you do the stand-ups every day. But if it's outside of Scrum, like managing a team of product managers, or managing, I don't know, marketing or anything else, having this weekly call with everybody talks about their issues, their priorities, and it's a time to interact with each other and ask for help. And the manager is here to listen and provide his help, provide also information top down from strategic initiatives at the company level, and provide the feedback back to the management. So like a formal meeting, but of course relaxed. And then as often as needed, on the phone, on Slack, reach out to people. Also very informal, very relaxed, but keep the conversation going. I also often say to my team as product managers, the time of our engineers is like the most expensive time of a software company. We don't want to hire hundreds of engineers. We want to hire the best ones. So we have just the number we need or we can afford, and they cannot wait on us. We need to be available to them to answer their questions in terms of product management. And basically, everybody needs to be available to everybody else to answer questions, so that people are not stuck. And if you're not in the office, you cannot go walk to the other guy's office space. So you need to be available remotely.
Got it. Got it. So, okay, now, uh, now, since you have a very extensive experience of working with Fortune 500 and big corporations, right? But
Yeah.
this question is more focused towards, yeah, when answering, you need to keep young startups in mind. You know, by young startups, they can be
Yeah.
A, B, seed stage, you know, and when going for their first five technology hire staff members, you know, what qualities, what do you think about? Because, yeah, so because when the technology stack selection has been a big issue because React Native have become kind of like mainstream in the last 3 years, right? Although they can also be done on work, similar work can be done on traditional technologies, but they've kind of like become mainstream. And some people just get caught up in the buzzwords of machine learning and AI, and everyone wants to go like, you know, we need.
Yep.
So, what advice would you give to these young founders? You know,
So a young founder who wants to build a team to build like his MVP, his first
yeah,
product.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So currently, I think so. We are in COVID. We don't really meet, so you could hire anywhere, right? And now even Silicon Valley people are moving away. Google has said you can take a lease for 1 year. We won't go back to the office before 1 year. So you could hire anywhere, and you're going to hire on Zoom, right? On Google Meet, on Zoom. So I got hired on Zoom. I didn't meet the Kunai founders face to face. So it's all about their experience. It's all about. So what I would say is you need to know what you want. You're a founder. You have an idea. You have a business idea probably, but you know you're gonna have to interact with this small team. So you need to know what you about the technical background. You know, you need to be able to interact with the engineers. Or you can take a firm like Kunai and they will build it for you. But you're still going to be interacting with the engineers. Product managers. So like as a founder, you're like a product manager for your company, and they're learning how to code. You know, I don't think coding is for everybody, but product managers learn to code. When you get hired at Google as a product manager, you may have a small coding exercise. So you can learn how to code. You can learn about those stacks that you were mentioning. You can learn about AWS or GCP or Azure, and you have some familiarity with the technology so that you can interact with those engineers. And then you can choose, okay, who is best. So maybe talk to a few and talk to nail down which technical stack you would like, and maybe take the best and always take the best engineers you can afford. It's you need to have not expensive teams. I think better engineers are better. A few better best engineers is better than several mediocre ones. But the time of the engineer who doesn't speak is over. You know, I think engineers have learned that they need to communicate. They need to be team players. So the diva engineer who makes his decisions on his own, who could before the weekend, and everybody has to adapt on the Monday morning. I think that's over. People don't rely on those people anymore. So you need to take people who will be interested in your business, who will be interested in learning about what is good for the customers, maybe even and be a team player. So be very good technically, and which doesn't mean that to come from necessarily Berkeley or Stanford. So the team player, a good communicator, and someone who will be able to grow and become a leader for your future expanded engineering team. Does it make
okay,
sense?
makes sense. No, that's a good advice. That actually is a
Thank you.
great advice. So I'm sure, sorry, but we have to cut the podcast short, but we'll keep our conversation going. But because my marketing team kind of like forces me to keep the podcast within 15 to 18 minutes.
Sure.
So thank you so much for being on the show. Take care of yourself and stay safe.
Thank you very much for having me.